The White House is pushing back against Speaker Kevin McCarthy's impeachment talk, accusing him of lying to appease far-right members of the House Republican Conference. Spokesperson for the White House counsel's office, Ian Sam, slammed the speaker after his appearance on Fox News' Sean Hannity, saying McCarthy, quote, continued lying about President Biden, making a series of plainly false, widely debunked attacks in order to promote the extreme far-right's baseless impeachment stunt that even some members of McCarthy's own caucus are expressing concerns about pursuing.
Sam also blasted McCarthy for comparing the Biden to Nixon. There's a clip of what set the White House off. Let's watch it.
When you move to an impeachment inquiry, it empowers Congress, Republicans and Democrats, within their subpoena to be able to get the answers they need. Because we have found time and again, we haven't seen anything like this since the Nixon administration, using their government to shut down any time we had a question.
House Republicans began investigating whether Biden was involved in his son's business dealings after they got a hold of an FBI form containing an unverified tip that Biden was involved in a bribery scheme. All right. So Democrats, their line is going to be, this is all false and baseless. Have they specified what aspect of the allegations are false and baseless? Because I do think, of course, there has been no proof at all that there's a bribery scheme. That is fair. Republicans have not found a red herring. They have not found any tangible proof that Joe Biden was involved in a bribery scheme. However, what Republicans are saying is that there's now, especially after the testimony of Hunter Biden's business partner, that there is enough evidence to at least merit and more investigation into the nature of his involvement into Hunter Biden's business dealings. And the fact of Joe Biden, of course, having been in the position that he was in as a vice president, his role in Ukraine, and being on camera bragging about his ability to get the prosecutor investigating his son's business fired is evidence enough for some people to demonstrate that the Biden White House has been rigging this investigation behind the scenes so that we will never find a smoking gun connecting Joe Biden to Hunter Biden's business dealings. Yes, absolutely. There's a need to understand, based on the shifting evidence, that his statements, Biden's statements, his administration statements about his knowledge of Hunter Biden's business dealings, it's not what he said in the first place, that he had no knowledge of it and that he wasn't involved. So I understand why the alarm is is sounding over this, and it needs to be looked into more. But you're right that we still don't have solid evidence that there's really an impeachable offense yet. The investigation should continue to happen. I think that's absolutely correct to do so. And we should all be kind of side-eyeing Democrats and mainstream media figures who said there's absolutely not only did he have no knowledge of Hunter Biden's wrongdoing, there was no wrongdoing even on Hunter Biden's part, which is where this whole story started off. It might finish in a very different place, but it's not there yet. I wanted to ask you if you have any concerns about the amount of money that is being spent on all of these impeachments across the political spectrum. Back when Democrats were pursuing impeachment against Trump for the first time, conservatives were circulating this statistic saying that Democrats are spending $40 million to impeach Trump. This is obviously government waste. PolitiFact fact-checked it and said it wasn't true, but didn't offer an alternate number. They just said that Republicans were exaggerating the number. In the PolitiFact, it's misinformation. Trust us. That's a very PolitiFact thing to say. Yes, and in a kind of telling admission in the PolitiFact article, they do note that in 1998, for Clinton's impeachment, there was an estimated $30 million spent on that effort. So even if it's the exact same amount, inflation adjusted, $40 million doesn't seem like an incredible number. No. Now are conservatives going to show the same amount of frustration with the amount of money that is being spent that could be spent to try to impeach Joe Biden? And all of these hearings that we're having, investigating Fauci and investigating this and the other, is any work of government getting done? I mean, there are a lot of totally fair accusations of hypocrisy you can level at Republicans for, saying they're going to cut spending, running on that issue, and then every time there's a Republican administration, they do absolutely nothing to constrain spending whatsoever. That's really the main difference between Republicans and Democrats. Democrats spend a lot, but they don't promise not to spend a lot. Republicans spend a lot, and they promise not to spend a lot. And historically, it's been Democrats who've diminished the deficit. It was Clinton. It's
Clinton,
people don't want to say it, but Biden did deficit reduction.
The deficit went out of control under George W. Bush, totally out of control. So anyway, long way of saying this is not a new fair accusation to point out. I think here it's a little less clear. I mean, the business of government is going to be investigating some government officials and whether they're lying to or defrauding people. I mean, that's kind of like unless you think there should be like no government at all, which, hey, I'm on board. We can discuss what that looks like on paper. We can maybe shrink down the government to like maybe nothing, Briahna.
Defund the police is a ridiculous slogan that is
Well, I don't want to start with the police, but we can
nature. But defund the entire government, that's doable.
If police is the last thing left, yeah, maybe they can go too.
All right. I mean, it is hard to bring this up because I know if you think that there's a real legal and moral basis for an impeachment inquiry or an investigation into what you think is fraud or a bribery scheme or criminal activity and what have you, then the cost of it is going to seem immaterial to you. And you're not going to see it as hypocritical when your side pursues it versus the other side because you didn't think there was any moral justification to the other side's effort. So it's difficult for me to bring this up because it does feel like on some level I'm not invested in the idea of pursuing a genuine criminal act that might be uncovered. At the same time, it seems obvious to me that sitting here in this chair and based on what we talk about, that 99.9% of the country's attention, or at least the news media's attention, is on can we get a hearing to prosecute Fauci or impeach Joe Biden or impeach or prosecute Donald Trump. And it is not as though people's lives have stopped living and the world has stopped turning, or rents are going down, or crime is going down. And to be in the middle of an election season, and for none of those issues, education costs, food inflation costs, for none of those issues, transportation costs, for none of those issues to even crack through into the national discourse, and for there to be no journalists who have access to these politicians who might inquire as to what their plans are for the American public, not just for their own political agenda. Because, of course, they're fundraising. They're making money off of the idea that I'm the one that's going off after Dr. Fauci. I'm the one that is wanting to do an investigation into the Twitter files. I'm the one that's wanting to do an investigation into Roswell or Area 51 or what have you. The underlying issues can be completely legitimate, but it does start to increasingly seem like it's a zero-sum game, and who is losing out on what is being chosen as the focus for the country.
Well, former president and GOP frontrunner Donald Trump will likely face an uphill battle trying to move his case on January 6 charges out of D.C. and into nearby West Virginia. Per The Hill, Trump has maintained that he won't get a fair shake if the trial is held in Washington, an overwhelming Democratic enclave.
On the campaign trail, Trump hurled insults at rival Chris Christie during a rally in New Hampshire. Let's watch.
No, he's eating right now. He can't be bothered. Sir, please do not call him a fat pig. That's very disrespectful. Don't call him. See, I'm trying to be nice. Don't call him a fat pig. You can't do it. You can't do that. So now, because you're not allowed to do that, and therefore we're not going to do it, okay? We want to be very civil, right?
Remember all of those post-Trump campaign announcement reviews that said that he had lost his flair and that the old Trump was gone and that a new subdued Trump was here, and it was unclear about whether or not he was going to be able to recapture the magic and lead the pack this time around?
I do remember that.
I think I did a radar at the time saying, don't judge Trump too soon on the basis of his mood at his opening rally.
Yeah, he's playing the greatest hits, and people still love to tune in, so here we are.
Well, there is a writer's strike happening.
I wish he wouldn't say those things. I mean, it's
well,
bullying,
he didn't say those
belittling
things, Robby.
behavior.
He, in fact, was agreeing with you, telling the audience not to call Chris Christie fat.
Right.
So, really, he's an anti-bullying hero.
I don't know who this brings into the Trump coalition, but I think the coalition is beyond bringing in new people, and again, I guess this is what his most fervent supporters want to hear. So,
well, I think that Hollywood should concede to the demands of the writers and the writer's strike, because otherwise, this is the most entertaining thing on television.
Ugh. All right, more Rising after this.